Tom Allen, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. We're very grateful. The fact that I'm not making eye contact suggests that this isn't as sincere as I think it is. But now I'm looking at you now.
Oh, too sincere.
We're at the it was too sincere. We're at the Tommy Field. We're recording this before. Tom Allen has done a run of shows with us before heading to Australia. Tom, that's exciting, the whole Australia thing.
Thank you. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I've been there before, but there was a pandemic in the middle. I was there, last time I was there was 2019, and then we were all locked in our houses for 2 years. But in 2019, I went there to go to Melbourne Comedy Festival and Sydney. And in Melbourne, it's the only time I've actually been, I've had a show nominated for an award. And I was nominated for the Melbourne Comedy Award. And that's quite showy of me to say off the bat, rather. But
my jury's open that that's the first time you've been nominated for an award. But I suppose, isn't that proof that awards aren't that important?
That's what I say.
If Tom Allen, genuinely,
that's what I tell people
that's
every
your
day.
first. Honestly, I cannot believe that. So nothing for Edinburgh. Nothing.
No, but I'm fine with it. No, but it's. I merely mentioned it because it was, for me, it felt very special because when I was sort of learning to be a stand-up and doing gigs and stuff, I went to Australia a few times and I learned a lot from it, and I always found that it was a very positive experience. So there's a lot of pressure riding on this next trip, is all I'm saying. The last time, it was one of those moments that I just felt very contented and very, very pleased to be there, and I felt kind of very pleased to be around lots of lovely people who I really like. And so, yeah.
Forgive me, that's not me being the rudest man in the world. As someone who's done a lot of interviews down the years, I know the importance of having a backup recording. So that was me pressing record on the phone.
You are speaking my language.
Oh my God. When I was a sports writer, to put a date, this was like over 20 years ago, so it was the old cassettes. And I remember Crystal Palace signing a midfielder called Michael Hughes, and I got the exclusive interview at the training ground.
Yeah.
Got back to the office, pressed play. Just simply had not recorded. Just fresh air.
Oh, and there was no backup.
No backup.
Oh, James.
So I pressed play. I definitely pressed record at the training ground. I pressed play. It was just this. Stays with you. Stays with you. So that was why. Apologies. But that was why I was doing it. So you have an Australian following then?
Well, there's a few people out there who might know me. Yeah. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't like to be so self-aggrandising to suggest I have a following. But the last time I was there, people came to see it, so I hope they come back. And I think some people might know about me from the podcast I do with Suzie, Like-Minded Friends. We get some messages from people in Australia, so I'm hoping there'll be some people there. So yeah, I have family who live in Adelaide, so I always feel a great sense of connection to Australia. Actually, I like it there. So I hope the shows will be fun and people will come. But I don't, beyond that, you can't control it, can you?
Do they have Bake Off Extra Slice over there?
They do. I think yes, they do, and they have. I think Cats Does Countdown. I think goes out there, and so they may have seen some of those, and a few different shows. I think that we have here. They might have there as well. So, which is again a nice feeling, and it's obviously a very easy place to visit for people who speak English, because it is an English-speaking country a lot of the time. So it just feels very easy to travel there, and I feel like there's a lot of similarities in our senses of humour, senses of humour.
Dame Edna could not have translated any better to Blighty.
But then a lot of people in Australia say they didn't. I speak to say, "Oh, we can't stand Australia. Couldn't stand her."
Seriously?
Maybe that's just the people I've spoken to have been quite cynical, because there is a Dame Edna.
It was a great character. That was.
Oh, so funny. There's a Dame Edna Alley, I think it's called, around the back of. I think it's the Capitol Theatre in Melbourne. But yeah, I do love a lot of things about Australia, including a lot of very funny films that I think aren't celebrated enough. The Castle being obviously.
The Castle is the one.
so good.
The gag with the dad always complimenting the mum's cooking. I've possibly never related to a character more. So it's something like, God, this is delicious. What is it? And she's like, it's toast.
It's
No,
so
but
funny.
it's the way you've. It's
So
beautiful
lovely.
observation. No, but it's the way you. I'm not saying it is toast, but it is something. It's
Lemon
something
drizzle cake, I think.
yeah,
gets mentioned at one point.
it's often like quite. It's not the most. It's not the most extravagant cooking, but he loves her so much, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And they made that movie to fund a different movie.
Oh, I didn't know that
A
story.
Sam Neill movie about astronomy and space, I think.
Oh.
So and I think the castle was the bigger hit. So they make the castle to raise the funds for a different movie.
Ain't that live? That's true. Not to make it so totally pious, but that's the truth with stand-up, isn't it?
Go
That
on.
I find I'll be like, right, I'm going to write something about lampshades. I like to tackle the big topics, and then I'll start writing, and I'll write something about lampshades. But on the way there, I'll have mentioned something about
So true.
different types of lights. It won't be that, but like something incidental. It won't even be anything to do with lights. It'll be like going to a light shop or something, and that.
They
And I'll be like,
can't
no,
believe
I'm writing a
that.
thing about. No, I'm not going to go on about that because I'm actually wanting to tell you about this thing I've decided I'm going to write the material about. And actually, the thing you did beforehand, without putting any pressure on it, is often the better thing. And I think that's if I've learned anything in these 41 and 3/4 years, it's that.
I went on holiday to Spain with my family. Brag.
Very braggy, this show. I've been talking about awards that I didn't win, and now, now you're talking about.
Came back. I had this whole routine about. I'm very British, so I'm gonna blush. But I've done Duolingo Spanish, and I had to buy some condoms in Spain. I apologize. Anyway.
Wow, in
and I had
Espanol.
I had this whole routine about I was going to use my Duolingo and try, and it was very embarrassing. I mean, tumbleweeds, nothing. And then I'd had barely a flicker of a thought about something that happened to me on the flight back about watching a documentary about Andrew Tate and panicking that everyone sat behind me. The first time I did it, Tom Davis was in the room. He went on Wolf and Owl and said it was something like it was the best routine he'd seen for years. Anyway, applause break.
Sure.
Just
Brilliant.
Totally back up your point.
Exactly that. I suppose that's the great thing about stand-up. We were talking about Australian films, and suddenly I'm delving into my philosophies on what I think makes stand-up work. But I think it is about the most specific experience, which is only true to you, which is why I like to think it's sort of AI-proof, but probably it isn't. But
I like to think it's AI-proof.
because the more sort of obscure it is, the better. Until AI learns that, though. Don't tell it.
The worrying thing with AI is it's got a lot better in a very short space of time, hasn't it?
At stand-up.
No, I don't. In general,
Oh, yeah.
friend's wife works in PR.
Okay.
She tried AI for a press release
Oh, yeah.
a couple of years ago. Crap.
Did it now?
Her husband, he not obsessed. He's on top of AI. He's because it's impacting his job, but that's another story. But anyway, he said, "Try it now." Chilling, how brilliant it
AbFab.
was.
Was it like AbFab?
It was like AbFab. It was brilliant. Now it's brilliant. So the worry is. But I would like to think, and I'm sure you're the same. I would like to think that I could spot if someone was doing AI stand-up. You'd like to think you could.
Well, you'd
spot
hope that it would be the stuff that you connect with because it's truly felt, but maybe not. Rather than
I agree. Alan Carr's first book, Look Who It Is, he says how audiences have a much better inbuilt bullshit detector than you realise. And
That's
we
so
can
true.
you can always, I think, you can always tell when the story or whatever the point of view is when it's coming from a place of authenticity.
Yes.
And you can always tell where you're thinking, either you don't mean a word of this or it did not happen.
Or you've considered that it's going to be funny before we've decided it's going to be funny. That is sometimes the case, I find.
Go on, such as?
I'm trying to think about a bit I've done that's like it, but I try and bin all that sort of thing. But something I'll be like, this will make you laugh, you'll love this.
Sure.
Oh, this is very relatable. Oh, this is the sort of thing people like these days. And I'll do that, and they'll be like, we don't want to hear. We know where you're going with this. We've seen other people do things like this. We don't want to see you do that. And actually, annoyingly, they want me to do the thing that is more vulnerable. So that's what I have to. For me, anyway. What do I know?
Well,
but
I mean, the new show, or the latest show, I should say, completely.
It's a dangerous name, though, don't you think? Because, of course, people can add their own epithet to it.
Oh,
they can go like completely shit, more like.
Hang on, I think it was you, Tom. You went to Leicester to do work in progress.
Oh yeah.
And people turned up thinking that it was the name of a new show, as in, I'm a work in progress.
Oh yeah.
It was you, wasn't it?
Well, I think that did happen to me. Yeah. I mean, it might have happened to somebody else as well.
I love that.
Forgive me if it.
So they thought they were turning up, and it was so as if it was Tom Allen going, "Hey, aren't we all just a work in progress, guys?" And then, as you get the piece of paper out, they go, it is.
Oh, this is literally a work in progress. Yeah, I think I seem to. Well, there was certainly a show I did put on there called Work in Progress, and and they were, and I was starting to do the new stuff, and they were like, "What? This doesn't got any punchlines. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Okay," and then I had to think real quick and go, okay, well, I guess I should do the stuff that I feel a bit more comfortable doing. And then they were like, yeah, that's what we came to see. Because the Work in Progress is a great name for a show because
it's a great
it could be
name for a
given
show.
to any show, any person. Like, yeah, I'm just a working. You know me?
I did a picture of someone like looking vaguely troubled. I'd sort of like to the listener, hand to my head. I'm just a work in progress.
Just a work in progress. Just a work in progress. That's me.
And we all. Now, you might have done it already. Is there a plan to film this, put it out as a special?
Well, it is a version of my tour show, which I did film a little while ago. But that's, so I filmed it in Hammersmith on the flyover, which was unusual.
I can barely hear a word he said.
I like to push the envelope. And so I did. Yeah.
Now,
are we being? It doesn't matter either. Are we being filmed? Fine, that's fine. I just thought I'd check because I keep looking over there to be televisual about it.
We should have. Sorry, we should have made that clear.
No, I saw. Well, when I see a camera, I perform. So you should see me on. You should see me on a. You're going to do it.
It's in the new show.
Is it a new show?
You didn't want to ruin the bit.
Yeah, sure. I like this as well. As a setup, it feels very profound. An empty club, empty chairs.
Hey, aren't we all empty?
Aren't we all just empty comedy clubs?
Some people will know this, some people will not. There is an acting background. You did a sitcom. Was it with Lumley?
Well, no, I had a part in a sort of comedy drama called Sensitive Skin. I had just a part in that. And that was when I shaved my head, actually, because I had hair before then. And they said, we want this character to have a mohawk that he reveals when he pulls off a hat at the end. And I was like, well, I was thinking about shaving my head anyway. So I shaved it, and I had a mohawk for a day, and then shaved off the middle of it. And I never looked back. And that was when I was about 23, 24. And I was quite happy about it. And then somebody wrote a review saying it made me look sort of otherworldly, as though I sort of looked like an alien. And I felt that was the only time I sort of felt vaguely criticised about it. But apart from that, that was probably me being oversensitive.
That was your Karen Carpenter chubby moment.
Stop it.
Is that story true?
In that TV film when she has that.
There's a TV movie about Karen Carpenter.
So bad.
And she reads this review and it says, Richard Carpenter and his chubby sister drummer. And then it's almost like a close-up and she goes, chubby, eh? It must be the most TV movie moment ever.
And I remember, because... like as a obviously gay person, even when I was like born, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not really interested in like talking about being gay in the sexuality way of it. More so in the way of, because people sometimes did say to me like, "Why do you talk about being gay all the time?" I'm just fascinated in the way that it somehow impacts like one's cultural appreciation and experience. For example, being 6 or 7 years old. Your mum and dad have sat down to Sunday lunch. They're like, where are you? What are you doing? And I'm in the other room watching the television because I have to see the end of the Carpenter's story, the television movie. And why? Where does that come from? I don't know. Well, it's innate.
I think you and I have very similar tastes.
So yeah, maybe it's not just a gay thing.
By the way, no shade on Karen. One of my, not just one of mine. One of, surely objectively one of the greatest voices
ever. What a voice!
The sorrow in that voice. It's not one of their best songs, but the one about where the
Calling
alien,
Occupants. I was going to say that's my favourite one.
but her voice on that song,
All hit radio.
it's just sublime, isn't it?
Hello, babe. I'm just doing there's a bit at the beginning that they do. It's like a little act out.
Because that bit does make me cringe. The
Yeah,
alien
it is a
bit.
bit embarrassing.
Yeah, all that.
Okay, babe. Love your voice. What song do you want us to play? Why do I know that bit more than I know
That's
the song?
great. That is right. So the alien calling in the radio station, and then Karen comes in.
We are We are making a contact with you. In your mind, there is.
Oh, Tom, that's so good.
You're welcome.
Have you ever seen the film Tommy Boy?
No, what's that?
Oh, you would love it. David Spade, Chris Farley, buddy movie, and there's a bit where they're in a car. Probably they don't know each other that well. Probably both trying to act a bit manly, and they're driving the car, and the Carpenters comes on the radio. One of them's like, "Oh, lame," and the other one's like, "Oh yeah, totally." Yeah. And then one goes, "Do you want to turn it off?" Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I'll turn it off. If you want to, yeah, I mean, I don't mind either way. I don't mind. I'll take it if you want to turn it off. And then jump cut to the two of them. Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby? That's such a great joke, though, isn't it?
What a great setup. It's so true. Those songs are so brilliant as well. What do you think? She's there on the snare drum, singing away. Phenomenal. Singing and drumming at the same time, long before Phil Collins did it.
Ooh.
Is that true?
No.
Is it not true?
I think there'd be a big crossover there.
Do you think they inspired each other?
Yes.
I don't. The Carpenters were sort of mid to late 70s, weren't they?
Yeah, and then what happened was, maybe they.
So I always think of Phil being 80s.
Well, no, because Phil was the drummer of Genesis.
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel leaves
Singer.
Genesis.
And then he had to sing from the drums.
They needed a new singer because Gabriel
Oh,
leaves.
you're right. Okay, Phil. Sorry.
And then Collins goes.
Okay, I'll do
It's
it.
a great Genesis documentary.
His mum ran a stage school.
Yes. And then Phil goes solo. He tries some solo stuff in the 80s.
Which I enjoyed.
And love it so much. We'd WhatsApped about Phil before this show.
I wasn't going to tell people, but yeah.
And I think, which one is it? It's not Micro. Tony Banks. Tony Banks says something like, he goes, I mean, I wanted his solo career to go well. I just didn't want him to become the most famous man on the planet.
He really was,
Because he was like Mr. 80s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Because there's being pleased for a friend, and then there must be a point where you're like, Jesus Christ, he's the king of the world.
What an incredible talent.
What a guy.
What a guy.
You mentioned the hair thing there. I'm not saying it keeps me awake at night because it's what's done is done. I wish I'd zipped mine off sooner.
Same. I wish I'd done it at secondary school, actually, in a way.
Yeah. I was early 20s when it started to go.
Yes, but I'd been losing mine in my teens, really, according to some of my friends. I think I was nervous enough about things as it was as a teenager. I suppose, it probably would have been a leap too far to be like, and now I've shaved my head.
I think, yeah. Also, I looked prepubescent, so if I'd shaved it, it would have looked... I'd have looked like a baby. But I do. But when
baby doing it.
But when I looked so young when I was at uni. People thought I was a child genius, and then they saw my results and went, "No, he's not. He's
just a child.
Just a child who I think he's starting to lose his hair."
A bald child.
So the stand-up thing, right? You're such a natural. You're one of those dudes. The crowd work is off the charts. The gear is incredible. You know, I can praise you until the cows come home. Was stand-up always on the cards, or was it an offshoot of the acting? How did the stand-up come about?
Well, I didn't really know about stand-up other than through people I really looked up to, probably mostly Victoria Wood, and then people like the storytelling of Kenneth Williams and maybe a bit of Frankie Howerd. Beyond that, I didn't really know what stand-up was. I didn't have any experience of it. And then when I left school, when I was at school, there wasn't a model to be a stand-up. There wasn't, people didn't go and become stand-ups. I think maybe there's a bit more of that now. But the stand-ups...
So true, that, isn't it?
Well, in sort of 2000, when I left school, 2001, there wasn't like, I'm going to try it as a stand-up. There was no... That would have been like, what are you talking about? what like 20 people in very aggressive macho environments do, sort of basements or working men's clubs or what are you talking about? And then after a while, so being an actor was the only thing that kind of was available. The idea that was the only kind of license to be flamboyant or to be outside, to be creative, to be not in a sort of to be in a creative job. That was the only thing I could see to do. So I tried to be an actor, and of course, I wasn't really cut out to be an actor really, because in terms of being 18 or in my early 20s, casting was not interested in a balding, camp, Noel Coward impersonator who liked Kenneth Williams and Victoria Wood. That was not of interest. If I'd been a bit Cockney or Blimey, they might have been interested.
Because that was the era of the Cockney or Blimey, wasn't it?
Or, you know, if I was a bit troubled. But of course I wasn't. I, other than being a closeted homosexual, I was just, you know, had very loving parents who just wanted the best for me. Casting directors are not interested in that. Let me tell you, that is not a fun story to tell. Like, oh, we rescued this boy from suburban Bromley. And also, I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't actually that interested in being an actor at that time. I didn't really see what it was about. You had to say other people's words.
Given how tough acting is, and I've had a couple of pals that I went to school with, they'd given it such a go, and so I know through them and socialising with some of their actor pals, that industry is brutal. To the point where I remember a party and someone had said that they'd got an audition for, and the other actors were, how did you get an audition? You know, let alone, appearing in a movie. So what I'm saying in a very roundabout way is, you did have success as an actor. I mean, the fact that you got credits, I mean, you
yeah, I suppose, I was very fortunate, and I had a really wonderful agent who really pushed me as best as they could. She could, Wendy Padbury, and like really tried really hard. But I think I just wasn't. I don't know. I didn't like to not be busy, and I think it's so brutal that you'll put all your heart. You'll get that one moment when you think, oh, I've got an audition for that thing, and you put your heart and soul into it, and then you'll go for it, and it'll be the biggest thing that happens to you, and then they just don't even get back to you. And I think that is so kind of callous.
There's no duty of care.
Absolutely not. And I think that sort of brutality just felt really, really horrible. And I think as well, it sort of sets in motion this kind of internal monologue that's like, who do you think you are coming here? And I think that probably compounded a lot of insecurities, like as any human being would bring to a creative environment.
But you still do some acting now, don't you?
Not so much now. I mean, I'd like to, but I don't really now so much.
I'd seen you pop it. Oh, hang on.
Starter for 10.
Starter for 10, and then also the animated film that was on a loop in our house.
Oh, The Night Before Christmas in Wonderland.
Oh, my God.
That's very nice. That's only a little scene. I mean, I was very pleased to do it. I do like doing things, but it's just, I couldn't do it all the time because I think that it would be so upsetting if you were, waiting for, did you hear that? If you were waiting just for the phone to ring, I think I found that very dispiriting.
Now that you're Tom Allen, quote marks. Now that you're Tom Allen, but do you have it where people go? I mean, I imagine the Christmas in Wonderland, that must have been, would like Tom, right? Or is that you still sending off auditions?
I think they asked me to do it. I think they asked me to do it, but which was very flattering, of course. And it was nice to do, nice to do things like that. But for me, it was just to be busy because I knew how depressing it was to be not busy. Having had that experience as an actor and being like, just go, will anybody? No phone calls today. Okay, that constant waiting around just felt very stifling to me.
Now, there's a Jose Mourinho quote that I love, and I've mentioned it on this podcast before. He said it took me 10 years to become an overnight success, which is
Jose Mourinho says that.
Yep.
Really?
Because he'd been a translator at Barcelona.
Oh, wow.
So he was part of the backroom staff, but was Bobby Robson's translator.
Wow.
So when he broke through, he'd been going for years, but no one knew this.
Oh.
But that's fair with you. You'd been a brilliant club comedian for a while.
Well.
And then when you broke through, look, you had. And then when you broke through, I just think if I'd said this to you at the time, you'd have got, fuck off. But we can say it now, we can look back and say it happened such a beautiful way. Because when it happened, you had so much stuff. You had all those years of experience. You had this rich back catalogue. Chris Rock once said, you you can never be discovered too late. You can be discovered too soon.
That's very wise.
And I think that's
yeah. I think it did. I think for me, I did feel coming up through the clubs and learning to be a stand-up in that environment was really great. I think. I don't know. I suppose I never felt. I've always felt a bit of imposter syndrome. I guess a lot of people do in that sense of like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I like doing it. I think that, it was nice to sort of become busier a bit later on. Because I was a stand-up for about 12 years, just sort of flailing around with some things moving me forward and then not, and then some things a bit and then not, and just trying to knock on doors and just trying to understand myself at the same time as trying to understand this kind of industry and the world and how I might fit in with it. And so all of that kind of, you can't argue with how it is because it is what it is, isn't it? So, yes, it might have been easier if I'd just had a much more kind of clearer objective and I'd followed that and I'd only done things that were in part of that strategy. But I didn't. I was just like, oh, God, okay, I'll do gigs, yes, okay.
Was there a breakthrough moment? I mean, I was privileged to be the warm-up on the John Bishop Christmas show.
That was the biggest thing, I think, for me.
Yeah, I remember that felt like something on the night.
That was you, me, and Kylie Minogue.
It was
backstage
together at last.
Finally, that's what is that? Did you sing that? No.
Hang on, no, is that CeCe Peniston?
You're right. Anyway, the three of us were backstage, and it was I'd been on tour supporting Sarah Millican, who'd very kindly asked me to be her tour support, and that really sort of built up my confidence. But I was still aware that when you're supporting somebody, you can often walk out in front of a crowd and they're like, "We haven't come to see you. Who are you?" And so I'd been really wrestling with that, and not, and I'd learned to sort of play to those crowds where they're like, "What's this? This is what we came to see. We came to see Sarah." So I've been learning to quieten the voices when that happens, and I was expecting that to happen when I walked out at the John Bishop show, because, again, television audiences can be often very warm, but sometimes can be quite like, So I had to just sort of... I remember delivering the first half of my first joke and thinking, nope, they're not coming with me, and all my family were there. And I thought, well, at least they're seeing that I'm working hard. And then the second half of the joke landed, and then the audience really laughed.
You're off and away then.
And then it was off and away. But in that moment, I still can remember that moment of like, oh, good. And I think I still carry that feeling of like, it's not going to work out. And I think maybe we all do that, or maybe other comics don't, I don't know. But for me, I still carry that sense of, nope, they're not coming with you, maybe, I don't know. And that was from the clubs as well. Like before... I was supporting Sarah, like going around clubs, and sometimes it would work out, and you'd go back to wherever you were staying and be like, I got away with it! And then sometimes it wouldn't work out, and you'd just be stuck in Derbyshire or I don't know, Derbyshire's quite a nice place to be stuck in, but somewhere, and you'd be like, well, I guess I should keep doing this. Or I guess it went okay. It would go okay.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like lie to yourself and go like, yeah, well, tomorrow's another day.
I was trying not to cry there because I remember, and I won't. Your dad was so proud afterwards, wasn't he?
That's a nice memory.
Went for that is a really treasured memory. We had a drink afterwards.
Lovely. There
was a rap party, wasn't there?
Yeah, in the bar opposite.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was beaming.
Oh, that's a nice memory. Yeah, I think I was very... and then we got a cab back, and he tried to tell the cab driver which way to drive, and that wound me up. But apart from that...
You don't have it any other way.
Of course.
Dad telling the cab driver.
I remember being like, texting my friend like, I can't have this, where he always tells me what to...
My wife, Emily, still does that now.
Does she?
She does. No, should have gone left down Cleaver Street, that, I ended up warming up for Kylie for a...
Did you?
I did, yeah. One of the best nights of my career, actually. Top of the walkie-talkie building. She was a delight. Yeah, brilliant.
What was she doing up there?
It was like it was a global environmental event. It was like broadcast around the world.
And she flew in for it.
She was fine. They got Concorde back just for that. So weird. But yeah, we love Karen Carpenter. We love Kylie.
Finally we've hit our stride. But with the things we're going to talk about, and she, I imagine she was very nice.
Oh my God, could not have been lovelier. And then there was a I've never said it. I think I've ever said this before. There was a pause in filming, and we nice chats. I mean, I did get a whole routine out of this night because she was so great. But there's one thing that I don't put in the routine because it's almost like too nice, so it's not funny. But during one of the pauses, she turned to me and she said, "You and I should duet on Kids, whatever the name of the Nick Cave song, and especially for you." She named the 3 songs that she duetted on.
Kylie said that to you?
Yep. The Robbie song, the Nick Cave song, and the Jason song.
Which one did you choose?
No, I just... Because that's where I was... You know what? I became the child who fell in love with Kylie Minogue and was so unashamedly tongue-tied, and I don't regret it, because it was like...
Yeah.
I've loved you since I was... It was such a lovely thing to say, and she'd been great all night. And then the next day, I think I put on Instagram, I'd taken a picture, and I'd said, what a pleasure and a privilege. And I said at one point, Kylie even said, "You and I should duet on Kids, Nick Cave song, especially for you." And then she replied, "Next time."
Where did you put it? On
Instagram.
Oh, James.
That's a
great story.
good story, that, isn't it? That's a proper showbiz. I feel like Peter Ustinov.
That's a great storytelling show, an audience with Peter
That is a
Ustinov.
great... I mean, I don't know what... it doesn't fit in with the rest of the... But anyway. Now, before we get to the format bit...
Yeah.
Is there... Tim and I couldn't be such champions of yours. Any Tom Allen projects in the pipeline that you're legally allowed to talk about?
Well, of course, there is my new... I'm trying to think of something stupid. There is... what? When are you putting this up? Imminently.
3 weeks?
Well, I've just come back from Australia, and so I can't plug that. And actually, I'm starting a new selection of videos about gardening, so you can check out my Instagram to be led towards that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Well, you're welcome.
So could this be a Tom Allen's Gardener's World type thing in the future?
Well, I don't want to tread on their toes, of course, but
yes.
but absolutely. No, it's about being in the garden with people.
Oh, I see. What is it? A chat show in the garden?
That's exactly what it is. But yeah, but that's... I mean, I'm assuming it'll be up by the time this goes out.
That's a great idea.
So I'm just developing it. If people like it,
Are you putting it on Instagram?
And YouTube, yeah.
Tom. What's it called?
At the moment, it's called In the Garden with Tom.
That's such a great idea.
Tom's Midnight Garden has already been taken. Do you remember that book?
No.
That was a book we did at school. Tom's Midnight Garden,
No,
about time traveller.
I'm doing a Columbo. Well, I'm not doing a Columbo at all because Columbo never said before we get to the format bit. But one more thing. Speaking of gardening, there's a great bit from the tour which you'd essentially written in this room, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely, about slugs, yeah.
That's such a funny...
But it's one of those bits, again, like we said at the beginning of our conversation, you only really write when you feel relaxed and you're having a nice time. So it's that sort of vulnerability
True,
again.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than the places where the guard's up and if you don't just say every word that you know works, then...
Absolutely.
You know.
And I think that, that sort of, if you feel stressed and sort of clamped up, then it's very difficult to be like, hey, I'm just myself on stage. Instead, you're like, oh, God. And nothing then can thrive.
Nice.
A bit like a garden. There you go.
Tom, that's such a great idea. Right, Tom, the format bit, you are curating your Dream Comedy Night.
Yes.
Do you have any pre-gig rituals?
Pre-gig rituals. For my tour show, I tend to have an espresso coffee and I iron a shirt.
Can you sleep that night on an espresso coffee?
Weirdly, yeah. But if it was an Americano, no.
So it's purely a size thing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get all carry on there.
But
if I look at a cup of tea after 12 noon,
that's it. You're awake
my
for weeks.
God.
I find, an espresso is fine.
Also, the ironing of the shirt, that gets you into that headspace as well, doesn't it, I suppose?
Well, yeah.
Prepping for showtime.
I like a bit of ironing when I do it. My partner does a lot of the ironing for us, though. So it's very, we're ironers.
It's whatever works.
As a couple, we We iron. Well, he'll say that, and then he'll look at my shirt's got a mark on it that I only realised when I was in a meeting earlier. I think it's some sort of label, I think, that must have been attached to it.
You look great, as always.
Well, that's very
Where, was that a deliberate choice? You know, like Tommy Cooper, Fez, Peter Kay, the short sleeve blue shirt. Was the suit a deliberate? Bill Burr, I always think of I'm wearing one now. I wonder if it's because of Bill Burr. Obviously, I'm nothing like Bill Burr, but I've gone back to always wearing a long sleeve dark blue shirt.
Well, it is nice on you. I wear a suit because I've always liked suits. I've always sort of been obsessed. Again, one of these, like, I don't understand why, but I'm obsessed with suits. I like the idea of how they make you stand, how they make you look, how I feel like a grown-up when I'm wearing one. And so, yeah, that's what I like about them. And there's a slight ceremony with them. You know, there's a slight...
Yes.
Because now, you'll see this in menswear more and more, men tend to wear quarter-zip jumpers, and instead of a necktie, they'll wear a lanyard.
Tom, maybe this is middle-aged speaking, I sound Victorian saying this, but I watch a lot of football, and when the hosts these days are all wearing polo shirts...
Oh, yeah, I don't care for
Just the other day I thought, you know what, guys? I preferred the days where you all had a suit on.
They used to like it, like, got to wear a suit. But now it's the world. It's like quarter zips. Do you mean a polo shirt like as in a T-shirt, like a woolen T-shirt?
I mean, they're dressed for a barbecue at Centre Parks. And I'm like, you're at Wembley. Show some respect.
You're right. Because I mean, I know I am a bit Edwardian, but I do like I like the way it makes you feel. My dad always said that. Clothes aren't about how you look, they're about how they make you feel.
I saw a photo of me. I had a hoodie on at a gig. This is where I've gone back to the recent weeks. I had a hoodie on, and I saw the photo, and I just thought, who the fuck do you think you are? You know, as if like I couldn't even be bothered. You know, I got so. I mean, it doesn't take much for me to get cross on myself, but I'd upset myself.
Really?
Yeah, and I think you're right. You should, because what are you saying to the crowd there? You know, whereas if I've put a shirt on, I'm saying, yeah, I care. I'm taking this seriously. Right. Anyway, who would MC? Who would really? Tim pauses the video as I berate myself. Who would MC the gig?
So we can have anybody alive or dead?
Absolutely.
Well, I always like somebody quite haughty, quite in control.
Yes.
So I'd say Elizabeth I.
Perfect.
Did it have to be a comedian? Sorry.
I mean,
that's what you've done. That's what you found before.
Some people have gone left field. But hang on. Now, what would Elizabeth I be bringing to this gig?
I think people would listen to her, and she would get the crowd on side. She'd be quite sassy, I think. I mean, it's difficult to say because, of course, she's been dead these 450 years.
I also think the great thing is that the crowd would be laughing so much for fear of...
being beheaded.
Yeah.
Or being burned as a witch.
Yes.
So imagine, if the compere is like, what do you do for a living? And the compere is Elizabeth I. No one's messing around.
No one's chatting.
No one's chatting.
Imagine if someone chats and she literally points to someone off a lackey off stage, and they're dragged out, and you hear the guillotine.
Yeah.
That crowd's going to be on best behaviour.
They're like, we love you. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's quite a good thing because she's got them in order. And then when she brings on the first act, the crowd is like, oh, this is relaxing because they're not going to behead us. So I think that's a good thing.
Was it Miranda Richardson that played her in Blackadder?
Yes.
It was Miranda Richardson, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's
how I see her.
That's how I see her. And also, what an iconic...
What a time.
...performance that is.
100%, yeah.
Do you know a lot about Elizabeth I?
Not a huge amount, actually. But quite interested.
I've heard the guy that did the voice of the Queen Mum on Spitting Image.
Yeah.
He tells the story.
Who was played as Mancunian?
Beryl Reid.
Is that right?
So he does Beryl Reid's voice. So I think is it a bit brummy? So the Queen Mum, I think I'll have a flutter on the next. Like
yeah, maybe. Stoke.
Yeah, and then I've heard him say that he thinks that millions of people think that that's what the Queen Mum was like. And she was nothing like Beryl Reid, was she?
I don't think so.
I think I can say that. I'm going to be diplomatic. Let's just say...
I think
she wasn't warm and cuddly like Beryl Reid.
I don't think she was... Yeah, I don't think she was this northern woman going like, "Oh, come on, don't worry about it." I thought she was more northern, more northern than Brummie, but I don't know.
Maybe,
But,
maybe.
I always saw her as Mancunian actually. But oh, come on, stop worrying about it.
I think Miranda has had that effect with Elizabeth I. When you said Elizabeth I, I immediately thought,
yeah.
I think that was Miranda Richardson who played her in. Right, great choice. The crowd are on side.
Yep.
And also fearful
For their lives.
For their lives. Which I think we can all agree, perfect atmosphere.
Perfect. Everybody's laughing.
What a gig.
Perfect.
Who's the opener?
I was going to say...
Genghis Khan.
Everybody's on board. Everybody's listening. I would say as an opener, why not? We'll go down that. So as an opener, the opener, it's the toughest gig of the night, I think, the opener, in a way, because the crowd has got used to the compere. The compere has got them into a certain shape that they like, and then you've got an opening act who then has to come on and bring them to their worldview. So I would say, I was going to say Katharine Hepburn. But is that...
What's your Katharine Hepburn impression?
I don't know what you mean. I haven't got a Katharine Hepburn impression. My father said to me... It's not a very good impression, is it? It's sort of Bostonian and slightly English.
I know he's very cancelled, but I told you about Kevin Spacey doing a Katharine Hepburn impression.
Oh, he did do that on Parkinson.
And you went, by any chance did it sound like this? And I went, yes, it did, yeah.
It is quite... But it's easy to slip into being a sort of Dalek, I've realised.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd like to
Katharine
apologise to the Hepburn estate. She still holds the record for the most Academy Awards won by an actor. 4.
Really?
Yep.
And there's that great video of her at the Oscars. Is she receiving or she's presenting an award? I think to Cary Grant. I think it's that way around.
Oh yeah.
And she comes out sort of wearing these kind of these silk pajamas. That's all I remember.
Kate Blanchett is very good as her.
Oh, in what?
The Aviator.
Oh yeah. Oh, son of a cum, a bit Bostonian. I said it. Like sort of old money Boston.
Yeah.
Or is she Boston, actually? Maybe she was further down. Maybe she was...
She was so great. Favourite Hepburn performance?
Well, my mum introduced me to a lot of comedy things. And so for my mum and I, we always watch Bringing Up Baby.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny.
Do they still make them like the Katharine Hepburn era? That's the golden age of Hollywood, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. I think that late 30s, I think, for me, is always kind of amusing. I love Fred Astaire as well.
Yes.
But Katharine Hepburn, I think, there's an amazing scene where she's doing a trick that she's heard about, where you flick an olive into your mouth, but she keeps failing to do it. And the olive, of course, is missing her mouth and falling on the floor, at which point Cary Grant, who's playing opposite her in Bringing Up Baby, walks in looking for her, carrying his beautiful silk top hat, which I've always had an obsession with top hats, walks in, and then, of course, in this very polite hotel, just slips straight over in perfect comic timing. But and slips over on the olive, and then she goes, "Oh, no," and he goes, "You again?"
That was good, Cary Grant.
Oh, do you think? Oh, thanks.
You again?
With Cary Grant, you've just got to slow down, really.
You heard the Tony Curtis.
Oh, it's so funny.
Tony Curtis tells this story because he essentially played him in Some Like It Hot, and then he bumps into Cary Grant, and apparently Cary Grant goes, "I don't talk like that." Tony Curtis in terminology goes, "Yeah, you do."
Yes, you do. But I watched that program about Cary Grant. There was a biopic recently. It wasn't very flattering.
Was it not?
No, but...
I don't think I could take it.
The what, sorry?
I don't think I could take it.
No, I would actually say that if you are a fan of those films.
I read a book about David Letterman, and it was not flattering. And as you turn the last page, you're like, I wish I'd not read that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you love someone, it's fine to.
I read a book about Mel Brooks.
Oh yeah.
I wish I'd not read that.
But then I suppose, it's very difficult, isn't it? Was he terrible?
Not always great. It is alleged that it was it's alleged in the book that he needs his first wife to look after the... Hang on a minute. The first wife, struggling to make ends meet, asks if him and... Who's he left his wife for? Famous actress. Anne Bancroft.
Yeah.
Can they look after the kids while she gets herself back on her feet? And it is alleged he said something like, she's an actress, she's a movie star, she's not a nanny, or something like that. Stuff like that, and you're like, oh, God. And then stuff to do with credit and writing and...
Not endearing.
Might not make the edit. But it's in the book. It's in the book. Who is in the middle?
The middle, a lovely spot, because people are well oiled by that point. They're in the mood. They like seeing different people. They've realised they like seeing the compare. They like seeing the first act. Elizabeth I comes on. And then I think the middle act, you want someone who is interesting, but is going to do a good... you want them to have you want the act in the middle to have a nice time. They will have a nice time, I think. So I think Kenneth Williams would be great.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I wondered where we were going to go. Kenneth Williams... So I'm of an age... Will-o'-the-Wisp.
Wonderful.
Was I think my gateway into Williams.
The Williams universe.
The Williams verse.
The Williams verse.
Forget the MCU.
The matron verse. Lovely storytelling. He was a great storyteller.
Oh, I mean,
and I think in the middle,
just
it would afford him that space.
Can you imagine how he would go down in the middle at a gig? He would be unfollowable.
Yeah, he probably would, actually. He would... But... that's why Elizabeth I would be so useful at the beginning of that second act, because you'd have to make sure that the crowd were in the right frame of mind to go, we're going to have something slightly different now. He's more of a storyteller. And then he would come out and he would, because that opening moment for a crowd, that's the thing I found I learned over all those many years, was the first few moments are so pivotal because they get you, the audience... They've probably never seen you before. You have to get across yourself to them in a way that they find likeable. A group of people you've never met before, you have to gauge what they would find likeable quite early on, which I'm sure Kenneth Williams would be very adept at doing, but I would want to make sure everything was right. Otherwise, he'd be on the phone to Maggie Smith straight after. Furious. What a shit gig it was.
I'm a star. What I'm going to say is because I'm not a gay man, this is possibly homophobic, but if Kenneth Williams...
Have you seen my act?
If Kenneth Williams doesn't open... he doesn't look at Queen Elizabeth I, and if he doesn't open with, I'm supposed to be the biggest queen on the bill, she would either love it or murder him.
That's the thing.
I think he would roll the dice.
I think he would, and I think some clubs would book 2 middle spots as well for that reason. Probably that would be all the more important.
Second middle spot. Because the first
one has been beheaded.
Just had his head chopped off.
Yeah.
What? Is it fair to say that he was not? Look, we've all. They're not on anymore. But when we were, I know I'm a bit older than you. But when we were younger, Carry On films and the Bond films on all the time.
All the time.
Not on anymore. Am I right in saying that Kenneth wasn't the biggest fan of the Carry On films?
I think he felt that he was more than them. I think he felt the same with Round the Horn at times, that he was like, he found himself having to do certain bits that he thought this could be better. It's a bit beneath me. I'm a serious actor. I should be doing more serious.
I watched a documentary about him, and he would appear on... this is heartbreaking, but he would do all the chat shows and often didn't have anything to... I think Parky says this. Someone says it as a talking head. He didn't actually have anything to promote. It was just... And again, what the documentary was saying was he was more than that, wasn't he?
And I think... Actually, the great tragedy is that he wasn't used as he could have been. It's ferocious intellect. He obviously had his own personal demons, I'm sure came from various reasons. But he wasn't enabled.
Better vehicles.
And he wasn't enabled to be, furious intellect that he had. He could have been any number of any kind of writer or any kind of, should have been utilised as best he could. But I suppose that was the age that people... If you didn't fit into some sort of box, then they didn't know how to...
That's heartbreaking. As you say, ferocious intellect, unbelievable talent, and so, know, easy to say should have, but in the way that Ronnie Barker had, say, a porridge, Kenneth Williams deserved a vehicle to fit that.
Or just something where he just talked about things. Talked about what he'd found interesting that week.
Yes.
But I think, for whatever reason, there wasn't that.
Imagine that, a topical comedy show with Kenneth Williams. I mean, that'd be...
Yeah.
Sort of see it in your mind's eye, can't you?
Yeah.
Great choice. Great talent. Who closes this juggernaut?
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because you've had a lot of different voices already. I think that's fair to say. Perhaps.
That's why we've gone for Marcel Marceau.
And that's for example. Or, that's a great shout, actually. Yeah, Charlie Chaplin comes in. Just does a series of, well, this one I was struggling with, really.
Lived. More points in the
Yes,
down there, yeah.
just around the corner.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the the dramatisation of his childhood as a child myself, and the horror of them being in debt, and the bailiffs came and took his mother's sewing machine away. Oof, terrible life. But if not Charlie Chaplin in the final sector of the show, I would go for someone broad that everybody can love. So I would go. Think now who's a good option here. That everybody gets on board with.
Pol Pot.
And it is, of course, Abraham Lincoln. It was. I literally can't think of anybody. Who would everybody get on? Probably someone. You need someone quite obnoxious, probably, to go on after that, and just to be very self-centered. So probably someone like Winston Churchill would probably do quite well, wouldn't he?
Wow.
But I don't know if that's a good choice, actually. So I don't know. That just sprung to mind. What about General Charles de Gaulle?
What about Tom Allen?
No, too much gay. What about?
Suzie Ruff.
Suzie would do a great job at the end of the show. Everyone would love her. Yeah, that would be great.
Susie's your closest pal in comedy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
She's one of them, isn't she?
Yeah, I would say no.
Because as I said that, I then remember that saying, I know Milliken had been a great champion of yours.
She's been very generous to me. And Rob Beckett's been a good friend to me as well. But Susie's...
Rob Beckett, I forget, because he would have you as a... I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. Maybe I shouldn't say it. You would write for him for Mock the Week.
Oh, I did once.
But that's a pal looking out for a pal, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very generous of him. Because, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. But he believed in me before I believed in myself.
You got the pound supermarket trolley gag on?
Well, I mean, it's no big deal.
I've got a good memory there.
That was a good memory.
If my wife listens to this...
She'll be like, why do you always forget our anniversary?
She'd go, you... How many times I walk into the kitchen, you don't know what you come in for, do you? No. Not a clue. But I can remember that in 2000 or whatever, Tom Allen wrote a joke about a pound supermarket trolley. Who do you like to go for then?
Suzie, I'll go with Suzie. I think that'd be nice. I think she'll get on well with Queens of the First and,
Get on well with Kenneth.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think she'd get bareheaded. Oh, and Catherine Hepburn would love her.
Oh, Catherine would love her.
The Green Room.
Can you imagine? I feel like Kenneth would just dip in and dip out. I don't think he wouldn't want to socialise. He'd be
meeting Maggie Smith at the doghouse.
Cheekies. Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. For a late night fish supper.
How did you and Suzie meet?
We met doing a charity gig for a gay charity, queer charity, I should say.
Were you pals from the off?
And we got on really well from the off, yeah. And we were galvanised. Our friendship was galvanised in the fire of a terrible gig, even though it was for a charity, so we can't really moan about it. And what was worse...
Charity gigs
can be tough.
Do you not think some charity gigs, the vibe in the room is, I've bought my ticket, I've supported the charity,
yeah,
therefore,
it can sometimes be
now you entertain me.
Well, it was a lot of gay people standing there with their arms folded. And what made it worse is that I went on and died, but...
oh, God.
I'd also... but as I came off and I was getting ready to leave, I realised they were calling my name because I'd won the raffle.
Oh, Tom.
So I had to go back on stage to collect my tickets for Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, well, I mean, every clown.
Yeah, which actually I didn't get a chance to see, but my mum and dad went to see it. Said it was brilliant.
I remember doing a charity gig, and they're all night just chatting, and you're like,
There can be that sometimes.
What are we doing?
Well, that's those experiences that taught me to be a little bit haughty, like our dear friend and compere, Elizabeth I.
Oh, my God. I remember at one point I did sort of address the fact that we're doing this for you.
It can be strange like that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could be at home shouting at the telly at Match of the Day because they don't have a suit on.
Yeah.
Now, has there been an incident that you would somehow love to replicate at this gig?
Actually, it's not a moment that I experienced. Can this be...
Absolutely, yeah.
My favourite thing of a comedy gig I've ever seen, which was I wasn't in the room for, but I was a child watching Brian Connolly walk on at the Royal Variety and wave at the crowd and carry on waving and walking and carry on and walking, waving and walking so far that he falls off the front of the stage. And as a child, I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And I watched it again recently and it's still funny. So I think if Elizabeth I could recreate that sort of physical comedy, that would be brilliant.
Brian... Tom, help me out here. Brian Connolly and Freddie Starr, those kinds of guys.
They're different. They're quite different.
They are different. All right, let's go with Brian Connolly. When he would appear on a show, there was that element of unpredictability. When I say danger, I mean in a really lovely way.
Yeah, fun danger, yeah.
Do we miss fun danger?
I mean, I would say. I mean, I'm going on the One show tomorrow and I'm going to recreate it. You know I'm going to...
Perfect. I've seen you bring fun danger to proceedings.
Well, I think...
In fact, Everybody Loves Movies. Some, was that the name?
Yeah.
Something About Movies. I remember you... Something About Movies, wasn't it? And then you said to Michael Sheen something like, "Oh, I know what you're like. You're going to tell an anecdote." And it was sort of like, no, but there was something punk rock about it. There was anarchy in the room.
Oh.
But that fun danger is, because you want the viewer at home to think, "Oh,
wow, what are we seeing here?
What's going on here?"
Yeah.
And Connolly had that with the stage fall.
I guess so. It was just sort of a classic bit of, and I think because it just sort of immediately mocked the seriousness of the kind of like the
pricking the pomposity
of the occasion, which I
Yeah.
think is what comedy can be quite good at doing, I think.
I would love to see that. Because I suppose these days with that show, people go on, they do the set, obviously they do great, but they're sort of sticking to...
Yeah.
Whereas Connolly's gone, fuck this.
Well, I think it was a pre-rehearsed bit of physical
I know
comedy.
he's rehearsed
I
it.
mean,
but
I
it's
take
still got
people
that.
think they can just walk off the front of stages and it'd be okay.
No
they might
crash
injure
mat.
themselves.
My leg.
I thought it'd be funny.
Maybe I'm saying a different thing. Maybe I'm saying there's not as much physical comedy perhaps as there.
Maybe that sort of thing, and just something being funny.
He was so wonderful, wasn't he?
And I like anything that's sort of out of the kind of trendiness of what people assume is funny. And
Have you met Connolly?
Yeah, I met him on Blankety Blank, and I was so starstruck.
Did you say hello?
And I had such a nice chat with him.
Oh,
he was
my
so
God.
nice. He was so nice.
I heard a story, I think it was at TV Centre, at the old South Bank studios.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people got in a lift. Connolly's in the lift. Too many people in the lift. And then he turns to address everyone in the lift and says, "You're probably wondering why I've called this meeting."
It's always funny.
And I just thought, that is perfect.
It's so funny.
Isn't that great?
Always classic. Always good joke. Isn't
Pure
it?
Connolly. Has there been an incident that must not happen at this gig?
People you work with coming to the gig, they have to only come if they are committed to doubling themselves over with laughter.
What happens there? What is that all about?
I've realised, it was early on, of course it was early on, people will be like, "Oh, we'll come and see your gig. When's your gig on? I'll come and see your gig. I'd love to come and see your gig. Oh my
And they
God."
sit there with their face like a smack.
And they're like, "Oh, no, it was good. I love that guy after you. He was brilliant."
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
What happens there? What's that all about? Because I've had an experience of that. A load of pals, nearly 10 of them,
Oh, yeah.
and
So it's
their
a
lips didn't. One of those nights, the whole
Yeah.
night, it was like they didn't want to be there,
Yeah.
and it sort of like it kills the vibe. I mean, it really
Kill
kills
the vibe in the
doesn't
room.
it?
And I remember somebody separately coming up to me at once and being like, "Oh yeah, my friend at work, he started doing stand-up. We went to see his gig. It was no good though. Oh yeah, it was no good. Oh, it's rubbish. Yeah, we went to see his first gig and it was rubbish." And I was like, "Of course he was. Like, of course, like, what
He's
sort
not
of..."
really Lenny Henry from The Jump, is he?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no sort of sense of like, well, yeah, maybe it was his first gig. He was a bit nervous. You didn't think to just laugh anyway. Do you know what I mean? But like, what you realise as well is that laughing is a very vulnerable thing, and so people who are maybe not mindful of what they're going through when they come to a gig like that might not realise that you've got to force yourself to laugh to make your friend feel comfortable. That's what I would say. And even now, if people I know through work or friendship group, if they come and see a show and maybe I'm able to arrange them tickets, then I just say, they say, oh, what can we give you? And I say, no, don't worry about giving me anything. Just laugh very loudly and afterwards tell me that it was the best show you've ever seen. Because in reality, I don't want to hear them going like, Judi Dench has got that great story. She says she knows when a show's no good. When people come around in the interval or they come around afterwards and they go, oh, you worked so hard. Gosh, you have to work hard. So I think that sort of thing, I just go, just tell me you thought it was brilliant and that's all that matters. And then it takes then I've gone, you know what you've got to do. I know what I've got to do. We've all got jobs to do here. Let's just get on with it. Rather than sitting and then being judged by people who you may or may not know well, who sit in the darkness amongst strangers and then judge you. So that's
a good line. If next time pals see me, I will say that. Just laugh.
Just laugh.
Because if they don't go to comedy gigs, they don't realise that.
Yeah, they don't know.
Offense, that there is an etiquette to a gig, isn't there?
Well, kind of. And I always think, like, I got somebody staring at me because I laughed in the theatre. And I was just having quite a nice time. And also the actors, I thought, were doing a really good job of doing like a farcical scene.
Tom, and that happens to me so much.
Oh, really?
People turning around
because you've got such a lovely, supportive laugh.
For laughing, for doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing.
I think Alf gets a bit embarrassed because I'm like, ah. But I'm like, do you know how shit it is to be on stage? Like,
and no one laughing. I get it. I go to the Churchill every year for the panto.
Oh, yeah.
People turning around looking at me because I'm laughing at the panto. Guys, get on board.
It's mean, isn't it?
They don't. I mean, the times you just want to go, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
They want laughter.
Yeah.
I'm not the villain in this scenario.
Yeah.
Final question.
Okay.
How do you unwind after a gig?
Well, I'd love to tell you that it's like some sort of yoga thing, but it's actually that I panic and stress and worry about did I do a good enough job, and then I look at my phone for ages.
We once said I know we are similar in a lot of ways.
I buy antiques. That's what I do.
Do you really?
Online, yeah. I look at
honestly?
Antique shops and I go like, yeah, I deserve a mirror. Sorry.
Good for you. No, that's good. I never buy. Hang on, I'm not trying to. I'm almost. We work hard, and I say to myself, I should buy myself not necessarily an antique, but a pair of trainers.
Yeah.
And I don't do it.
Always treat yourself, isn't it?
You've got to, haven't you?
You're not here for a long time. You're here for a good time.
But we've said before that we're sort of powered by worry in a good way. Worry gets stuff done. Active worrying, it's called.
Yeah, is that right? Probably.
I think if you use it, for example, a mate of mine, Abbas, we used to live with each other, pals since we were kids. Presentations, not his forte.
Okay.
And he realised, my therapist taught me this active worrying thing. You can worry. Oh, God, I've got a presentation. Oh, God, not sleeping. Oh, God. Active worrying, he went and bought Presenting for Dummies. Practiced night after night after night. Learned it. So that's called... So it's, listener, I've turned this into a self-help podcast.
Hey, everybody else does it.
If there's something that you're worried about, you call it active worrying, and that's where you do you do something about it that's positive.
Oh, okay, I should try that.
But I think if you use it the right way, worrying is a good thing.
Well, I'm just trying to reframe. What is it?
Reframing.
Reframe. Just reframe it.
That's a Paul McKenna thing, isn't it?
Is it?
So reframing to the listener. If you go on a holiday and it rains, some people might go, oh, just our luck. Whereas if you reframe it, you go, oh, what a great opportunity for us as a family to go bowling or go to the cinema.
Yes, when would we do that? Oh, that's nice, yeah. Hard to do, I think.
You've been listening to Always Be Self-Help.
You should do that. Always Be is your brand.
Look.
Always Be. It's a bit like work in progress. Always Be.
Always Be. Just always be.
Just always be.
I'm sorry that I steered this to... It went self-help for the last 30 seconds, but before I did that, Tom, that was perfection. Thank you so much.
That was
what a great
dreadful.
episode.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely
Imagine I said that.
That was one of the worst things I've ever witnessed.
Tom, I'm not going to strangle myself with this microphone cable. No, thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you for having me.
Bless you. Cheers, Tom. Thank you.